Need a motion to return or to exit executive session.
I'll make it.
Second.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I'll now read the certification. Pursuant to Section 2.2-3712D of the Code of Virginia, 1950, as amended, each member of the Board of Supervisors, upon the roll call, certifies that to the best of their knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from the open meeting requirements under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and only such public business matters that were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened were heard, discussed, or considered in the meeting by the Board of Supervisors. Any member of the Board of Supervisors who believes that there was a departure from the requirements of clauses 1 and 2 above shall so state prior to the vote, indicating the substance of the departure that in his or her judgment has taken place. Are there any supervisors who believe a departure has taken place? Seeing none, if you agree that the matters heard, discussed, or considered during the closed meeting were pursuant only to the motions by which the closed meeting was convened, please signify by saying aye or yes. Tim Lovelace,
Yes.
Lou Ann Wallace,
yes.
Carl Ray,
Yes.
Steve Breeding,
Yes.
David Eaton,
Yes.
Rebecca Dye, yes, Horace Christian.
Yes.
You now have approval to return to open session.
Thank you very much. At this time, I'm going to ask everyone to please rise for the invocation, remain standing for our Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Father God, Lord, we love you, we thank you, and we praise you today, Father. Father, forgive us for where we fail you each and every day, and thank you for allowing us to be a part of the local government, Father. Forgive us for where we fail you. Be with us, lead us, guide us, and direct us. In your name I pray. Amen.
At this time, I'd just like to tell everyone that our county administrator, Mr. Lester, has had a family emergency, and so we are going to try to do the best we can do to conduct this meeting as expediently as possible. And so it's going to be most of us here tonight with the county attorney in aiding our plight that we're in. So excuse us if we're not doing things exactly like we're supposed to. We're failing a little bit today, and just keep our county administrator's family in your thoughts and prayers. So at this time, I'm going to ask for an approval of the agenda, and I do need to ask that some of these that we not we need to mark off, if you guys don't mind, that we can make things a little faster tonight. So there's some things that we might can do away with. So Mr. Breeding, do you have some thoughts on that, please?
I was just going to say the table.
I think we can table these committee appointments. Because
Okay.
everybody will serve anyway.
That's right. Committees serve until they're reappointed or
Right.
replaced.
Okay.
So number
Citizen
3
County
is gone.
Constitutional officers, county attorney's report.
I do have one matter to add under my report. It's a resolution for Child Abuse Prevention Month. If you don't mind to add that to the
So
agenda.
you want to add that under number 3, county attorney reports?
Yes.
Okay.
I think you can just make an announcement about those report, the VDOT minority monthly reports in their package. Household waste, you can just make an announcement about that. We do have to do that.
Yes. We're going to do number 3
Yeah.
in the request.
And EMS country. So
Mhm.
I think that's about all.
Okay. So is that all that we need to do for the amending of the agenda?
Yes, ma'am, I think so.
All right,
And I'll
then.
make a motion, we approve the agenda with those amendments.
I'll
Thank you,
second
Mr.
it.
Breeding. I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. So at this time, we're going to have a public hearing on revenue share for solar energy projects and energy storage system ordinance. So if anybody came to sign up for that, You don't have anything? Okay, basically, for the public hearing, since Mr. Lester's not here to explain it to you guys, this was going to be for a solar, industrial solar in the county. And because we have no zoning, we needed to work on an ordinance that would take care of how this solar array, they call them, would actually be placed, and how it would act with stormwater, how it would act with the utilities and the buffers that we have. It is in our packet, so if anybody, that has been publicized. So if anybody needs to read that, that is out there. Also, it talks about the battery storage. Last month, we gave a letter to in support of American Electric Power. They are looking at iron battery storage, and if anybody else here can chime in if you want to help me on that. But they're looking at doing that on their footprint at the American Electric Power Station in Carbo. And so we added that into that solar ordinance because it all has to do with storage, battery storage. And so that's basically what's going on with that. I think the amendments or the ordinance does talk about fees. I think the fees are like $1,400 per kilowatt. Thank you.
I think
Or
it's
is it
megawatt.
megawatt?
Is it mega?
Megawatt.
I'm sorry. Thank you very
Priscilla,
much.
that's an annual fee.
And
And it does exclude residential solar systems.
Yes, this is industrial. This is industrial at this time. Ms. Patton, you got anything else you need to add to that?
And if I may, the ordinance that's been advertised and it's for the board's consideration tonight, it's basically how the industrial solar facilities are going to be taxed. Currently, without the ordinance, the county's machine and tool tax would apply, but that would be it's sort of a complicated way to do the solar facilities, and so this solar revenue ordinance creates a simpler way to provide that machine and tool tax on these solar facilities. But the ordinance only applies to really big projects. That's why there's a cutoff on what it will apply to, so it would not apply to any kind of facilities that anybody would have at their residence. But that's really essentially what the ordinance is. It just controls how the county is going to tax those facilities.
Very good. So we had no comments. We've done our comments up here. I'm going to officially, anybody want to say anything? No. All right. So all hearts are clear on the public hearing, and I will close the public hearing on the solar energy project at this time. Moving along to presentations. Currently, I have on my list of Mr. Dan Glass and Ronald Passmore, the Director of Regulation and Compliance Enforcement Division, Office of Emergency Medical Services, and the Dank Rescue Squad's request for an organizational variance. Gentlemen, I'll give you the floor.
Good evening. My name is Ron Passmore. I'm the Director for Regulation and Compliance Enforcement for the Virginia Office of EMS and the Department of Health. Dank Rescue Squad has petitioned or applied for an exemption to EMS regulations. And a part of that process in the Virginia Administrative Code requires you as a body to give permission before we can consider the request. So as a part of that process, the code requires that I be present at the Board of Supervisor meeting when Dank officially asks you for your support so that I can be a resource. I'm not here to be for or against the regulation. I'm just here to answer any regulatory questions that you have. Bear in mind, if you give permission for this, then you are assuming responsibility for this as well, because you have to give permission first. Okay. And what they're asking you to do is to operate outside of compliance with EMS regulations in the state that no other agency is able to do. Okay. So I'm here if you have questions.
Okay, thank you.
Hey.
Mr. Glass? No.
What our request is, currently the regulations say that any junior member has to be 60 years of age. We have an opportunity with some youngsters in our area to restart our junior squad. We have at least 4 applications at this time, and they're very, very interested in doing it. But we would like to lower that age to 14. Okay. The what we've got is questions probably on the safety involved. I assure you that they're safer with us than going to school every day with hundreds of people. Also, these kids participate in all sorts of sports activities. The ones that we've got participate in tennis. They participate in band. So there's lots of opportunities. One of them's a wrestler. So how much closer can you get to other people? But there is a good chance here for us to grow a little bit. Our squad is an aging group of people. I hate to admit that, but we are. But when you have people out there pushing to move some of the gun laws to 18-year-olds, they're also out there talking about allowing 16-year-olds to vote. And all we're doing is asking them to help the community. But if you have any questions, we're glad to answer.
What, Mr. Glass, is it age 13 or 14?
We originally put 13, I think. That would be fine.
Since these are, Mr. Glass, since these are minors, do you have a form for the parents to sign to
Yes.
allow them to do this? And that'll be a written document.
Yes, it'll be a written document.
Okay.
Some of the things that we are looking at, they would go through some training prior to beginning their beginning to help us. But they will be required to wear masks, gloves on all calls, and things like that.
So were all the departments in the county requesting the same thing or just, okay?
This is just solely a request from our agency.
What, I guess this is a question for Katie, our attorney. What legal responsibilities would we have as a board for lowering it from 16 to 13?
Well, this is not something that that the county administrator had discussed with me, but in reading the resolution that's proposed that he drafted, basically we don't have the authority, from my understanding, to grant this. The resolution would say that the Board of Supervisors strongly supports the Board of Directors' request for an organizational operational variance for the purpose of increasing volunteer members for the junior squad membership by lowering the age requirements to 13 years of age while creating opportunities for members to serve the Dane community. So again, this was not discussed with me prior to this, but it appears that we really don't have any authority. It's just we say that we agree and can encourage that be allowed. So
I give some guidance on that.
Will that resolution, will that meet your needs?
Not quite. I need to give you some guidance on drafting the resolution. I can give you the Virginia Administrative Code 12 VAC 5, if you want to pull it up.
It'll take me just a second. Let me write it
Okay.
down so I don't forget it. You can.
12 VAC 5-31-110 under exemptions for EMS agencies. And under B2,
Could you pull that microphone up a little bit, please?
12 VAC 5.
12
what was-
VAC 5-31-110,
Okay.
and then B2. Or actually, it's B1. It says the written request for exemption must be submitted for review and recommendation to the governing body of the jurisdiction or the chief administrative officer in which the principal office of the EMS agency is located before it's submitted to the Office of EMS. So if you guys were to say no to this, then the request stops at that point because I can't consider requests that you don't support. So you are this resolution, and it requires for as proof of support, you have to issue a resolution of support for the request. Then they begin the process with the Office of EMS.
Okay, so it's just either we object or support your
Correct.
request. And so I do think what I just read would do that because it says that they do support your request for that. Is there additional language?
Yes. Now we need to talk about the resolution needs to speak specifically to which regulations you're giving an exemption to. And there's multiple regulations in EMS regs that require minimum age of EMS providers, if you will. The first one being the one that is quoted, 900, which states the minimum age for an EMS provider in the Commonwealth of Virginia has to be 16 years of age. So you'd be asking for an exemption to Section 900, and you'd be asking for an exemption to Section 1200 as well, which specifically is titled, the regulation is minimum age of EMS vehicle personnel. It says EMS personnel serving in a required position shall be a minimum of 18 years of age. An ambulance is required to have 2 trained providers on it. Both of those 2 required positions have to be a minimum of 18 years of age. Although we will certify EMTs beginning at 16, they can't function in that minimum 2. They would be a third person on the truck until they get some experience. And then Section B of 1200 says an EMS agency may allow assistants or observers in addition to the required personnel, period. An assistant or observer must be a minimum of 16 years of age. And the concern that is stated when you look at Section 900 that probably needs to be addressed in their plan is under 900, number 1, be a minimum of 16 years of age. An EMS agency may have associated personnel who are less than 16 years of age. This person is not allowed to participate in any EMS response or other activity that may involve exposure to a communicable disease, hazardous chemical, or other risk of serious injury. That's the part that needs to be make sure that minor children are going to be covered outside of, especially when you're going outside of regulations by whomever is going to be insuring these children, because they are going to be exposed to communicable diseases, hazardous material. These EMS scenes are inherently unsafe. They won't have the training necessary to make sure the scene is safe or to assure safety. So I think all those, I think for this to continue going through the process, all sections of regulations that deal with the age of these observers. The other sections are in the education component. Mr. Glass mentioned they'll have some training. EMS doesn't allow training to anybody less than 16 years of age. There's no way to document that. They may give some training at the agency, but that's not recognized training by the Office of EMS, such as EMT or paramedic training. Because you have to, regulations also require you to be 16 years of age to enroll in any EMS education in the Commonwealth.
Well, I'm not against any more volunteers, but I think we need to do our due diligence. And I think that not having our county administrator here, I think there needs to be some communication with you and our attorney and Lonzo to get all this drafted out before we make or before I make a determination or motion. This is very complicated in a sense to make sure that all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed.
Okay.
It's not that I'm against. I was a junior squad member at 16, and I didn't know apple from oranges, and I had to. It was probably I was 21 before I could really catch the knack of anything going on, and I had to have supervision.
Right. And the state is not here for or against. We're here to just be a resource.
Well, I understand fully.
as the regulations say, you can have junior squad members at 8 years old, 9 years old. They just can't respond to calls or be on scenes. So that's specifically what the ordinance needs to address is what are these folks going to be doing that regulation doesn't allow them to do, and that's going to be scene responses.
And so, and from what I pulled up 900, the general requirements. They just need, the resolution needs to cite what you're asking the waiver for, basically.
900 and 1200.
900.
And kind of,
those are the only two for this particular.
I think unless you're wanting to try to do education before 16, you'll have to add those as well. I didn't get any sense that the rescue squad is requesting them to be able to go to EMT school. And I don't know that that's going to probably go to the national level because there's no way to become certified because the state doesn't certify providers anymore. That's done at the national level. So I'm just here if you have questions.
I think it would be a good learning process for these youngsters, but like someone said, there's a liability there.
We just have to make sure we keep them safe.
Yeah.
Well, that's why the regulation, the intent of the regulation of withholding them from doing scene response till 16 is so that we're keeping young children safe.
One of my first questions was why just one department is wanting this and the rest of them not. If someone could answer that question, I appreciate it.
So, board members, let me ask this question. Mr. Passmore, you hang on right there. Okay, thank you. So if we were to give a variance letter of support, that's not saying anything because it has to come, your recommendations have to come back to us anyway.
Right.
I'm understanding that, right?
Well, this point is a yes or no from Russell County. If it's a no at Russell County, the request dies. If it is a yes from Russell County, then the request will be put before the Training and Certification Committee on the Governor's EMS Advisory Board for consideration. They will make a recommendation to the Commissioner of Health as to whether they recommend approving this or not. Based on their approval, the Executive Director for the Office of EMS will make his determinations of whether he recommends approval or not. Then it will work its way through the Deputy Commissioners all the way. Only the Commissioner of Health will be able to ultimately give this exemption. This wouldn't be a variance, this would be an exemption.
Thank you.
So, okay.
So tonight, we could give them an exemption to move that to the next level.
The resolution would have to be amended because it's stated as a variance instead of an exemption, and it does not list the specific amounts, but it is just a letter of, it is, again, that's what I took from when I read it. It's the board is only voting whether they support it or you don't support it. So I mean, I can amend, you can direct me to amend the resolution to include the appropriate legal language.
The resolution needs to be specific. What sections of regulation are you supporting an exemption to? And a variance is only good for 1 year. It's a very temporary thing. An exemption, you're asking for exemption for the life of the regulation. So this would stand as long as Chapter 31 remains the EMS regulations, which we are in the process of changing that, but that will take a few more years. Once Chapter 31 is repealed, then this exemption would go away and this whole process starts over under the new chapter.
So in our board book tonight, it says variance.
Yeah,
and that's just for one.
That would give you a 1 year. That would only give you a 1 year exemption to this.
Okay.
And that's not typically what an agency, like when they're asking for something like this, that's not, a variance is not typically.
Okay.
Usually a variance is I'm at the end of my certification and I forgot to get my continuing education hours done. Can I have 2 more weeks? So it's
Gotcha.
It's usually a temporary.
Okay, thank you. So board, you got any decisions? You want to just let that ride, or you want to? That's going to come back up on number 4.
I'm not comfortable voting on anything until I understand what's in section 900 and 1200. Can you tell me that, Katie?
Yeah, I can read that. Let's see. And these are amended administrative codes. And 12.5-31-900. It's titled General Requirements, and what it's and I guess the first section here, it says it's EMS. Am I not? Okay, it says EMS personnel shall meet and maintain compliance with the following general requirements, and one is be a minimum of 16 years of age, An EMS agency may have associated personnel who are less than 16 years of age. This person is not allowed to participate in any EMS response or other activity that may involve exposure to a communicable disease, hazardous chemical, or other risk of serious injury. So I guess that's what we're asking for. The exemption is to not be would be 12 VAC 5-31-900 1. Okay, and so that's the only exemption that would be okay in that code section. That's the only thing. Okay, and so that would be that one, and then. And then 1200 is it's titled minimum age of EMS vehicle personnel, and it's a short section as well. It says EMS personnel serving in a required staffing position on an EMS vehicle shall be at a minimum of 18 years of age. And then B, an EMS agency may allow assistants or observers in addition to the required personnel. An assistant or observer must be at a minimum of 16 years of age. So, I guess the question would be, is we're asking for this exemption. Are they going to be an observer? Or are they going to be a staff? I mean, I guess that's so. So that would be so you would just need to do 1200B then if you're going to be specific. So those would be the two requests from the EMS to support the exemption of 901 and 1200B. Is that correct? I want to make sure I'm saying it right.
Thank you. So, board, we're going to look at that in under the request on number 4, unless you want to take it up right now. I'll allow for that. Anybody?
Well, I'd like to be able to study it a little bit better and understand what I'm actually voting on. I mean, I know we've got a lot of it thrown at us. I can understand what the need is for the rescue squad. I'm sure we do have aging people and we do need younger people to get involved, but I would like to have a little bit better understanding of what I'm doing here and read up some of the information here on these codes before I make my decision. But I think it's nothing really that pending that you got to have them this month right now, do you? Is it something that we could do next month at our next meeting? That way it gives us enough time to digest it. Thank you, sir.
Can you have that resolution modified
Sure.
for next month?
Sure.
I prefer to do it next month.
All right. All right. So we have a consensus. Don't need a vote. I'm just going to move on. The next presentation is with the American Red Cross Appreciation and Jess Powers. I left your name out, Barry. Do the last name for me.
I will say it for everyone.
Thank you.
Barry A. No. Hello, my name is Barry Abramovich. No, I'm not from around here originally, but I'm here to stay now.
In the microphone, please.
I'm sorry, I'm not from around here originally. With a name like Abramovich, it's a good old southern name, southern Lithuania. With me, I have Sharon Dixon, who is the disaster program manager for Red Cross in our Bristol office. A few years ago, Mountain Empire chapter was merged with Roanoke. We do still have an office in Bristol, but it's no longer the Mountain Empire, unfortunately. And behind me, and gentlemen, we have some of the volunteer firefighters. They've come here, I believe, to support that. Come on up, guys. First of all, I applaud the rescue squad, and I hope you're successful because every volunteer agency is facing the same crisis, and it appears it's going to be worse. Our average age of Red Cross, I'm 71, and that's about the average age of Red Cross volunteers. And so, as you know, Jess Powers is the county's emergency manager. But I know him as my DAT responder. I live here in the county. There's only two of us, me and Jess, that respond to Red Cross situations in the county. Unless Sharon has to come sometimes from Bristol. We have other volunteers, but sometimes we're helping them. 10 days ago, we had a huge fire here in town. The response was awesome. Those of you who are on the scene, we had every fire department except one was held back. Every piece of equipment, responders, EMS squads, New Garden, Lebanon, Castlewood, transported 7 people to the hospital. And I'm ad-libbing right now and hope I'm not taking too much time. But some of the residents had to, 2 toddlers had to be tossed out of a 3rd-floor window for someone to catch, and the parents had to jump. The parents were injured, and they were transferred to other hospitals outside of the region. I might be wrong on this, but there was no fire alarms heard in that building. I could be wrong, and I hope I'm wrong. But if I'm right, then I think the county needs to look at that, and the multi-family buildings to require smoke alarms. And I hope I'm wrong, so don't quote me on that. But I just learned about that tonight, and I'm living a little here. I might be in trouble, but we have free Red Cross gives out free smoke alarms. As a matter of fact, Jess, when was the first one in Castlewood? A few years ago. I mean, more than a few years ago.
Probably been 7 years ago.
7 years ago. Oh, by the way, I had the good fortune of coming 11 years ago and meeting Jess and working with him. And you have a gen of an emergency manager here. And I know most of the emergency managers in Southwest Virginia. And I've been on Wednesday, I'm leaving for Arkansas, my 28th deployment nationally. I've seen what happens when they don't have a good plan in place. Jess, I have to tell you this one story. Jess, it's 3:30 on a Sunday morning. My phone's ringing. It's Jess. I know it's not good news. He said, Barry, I'm out of town. I said, yep. He said, we have a cave rescue situation. I said, yes, that's not even on my list of things that could ever come up. I mean, and there was, outside of Cleveland, 4 people were stuck in a cave. It was 3:30 in the morning. He says, Barry, I need you to go to Walmart. And he had a laundry list of about 12 items that I never bought before, but I bought them that day. And if it was anyone else, I would have not bought. I would have bought half of them. And he also said, Barry, this is going to take all day. Now, I don't know where you were. He was out of training class somewhere. It was 3:30 in the morning. He had a whole list. All right. He said rescuers will be coming from all over the region because the cavers rescued themselves. And they did. North Carolina, South Carolina, West Virginia, Maryland District, Virginia, of course, Tennessee. There were about 35 of them showed up. I didn't know Blacksburg had a cave rescue team. They arrived with the trailer with the equipment. And they were surprised that we had breakfast for them. We had Gatorade, we had water, we had coffee, we had lunch for them. The rescuers were saying, we've never gotten this before. I said, you never had Jess Powers as emergency manager because he has to request it. But I guarantee those 35 cavers from all over the region went back and said how well they were treated. We even served them pizza before they left. All right. I'm talking too much. Tell me if I'm talking too much, please. But the coup de grace was at 10:30 on a Sunday morning. A truck with 2 porta potties arrived. I don't even know where you get porta potties during the week, but they arrived. CNN arrived from Charlotte with a big satellite truck. And at 4:30 that afternoon, the last stranded person was removed from the cave. We served the rescuers pizza. They thanked us. Oh, and every item that he gave me on the list, eventually they came up. The rescuers came up at one point or another and asked, hey, can you get me whatever? I said, come around the back of the truck here. You have it there already. I said, yes. Because Jess Powers, our emergency manager, told me to get it. Anyhow, that's just one of many stories. Like I said, it's a pleasure working with Jess. But the reason we're here tonight, Friday night, what number of that response? Disaster Action Team response is usually it's a fire, but we've done the cave rescue, we do trees, we do floods. That Friday Department fire, what number was that for you? It's his 549th response, and we were honoring him for 500. He's already almost to 600. Most of them after midnight, unfortunately, not all of them, most of them after midnight. We've talked more in 3:30 in the morning with most of these gentlemen too. And I come to love my volunteer. I call them my volunteer fighters. They're not. I lived in Northern Virginia. I lived in Atlanta. I've seen paid firemen. I put these guys up against any of those with the same equipment. They they do it because they do it with passion. It's their neighbors. It's their homes. It's their friends. And I love them. The Friday night, Saturday morning, after being on the scene for 5 hours, the Lebanon crew was the last crew to leave. They rolled up their hoses. They drove. You know where they drove? They didn't. They went past the firehouse. You know where they went? They went to Russell County Medical Center to see how the people were that were transported. That just took them and my heart to a higher level. Anyhow, sorry, Jess, but do you want to present? Really? Go ahead.
If it wasn't for the second role people, we would not have those responses. So if they wouldn't call us out, and they're staffing the dispatch office 24 hours a day, 7 days a
Well,
week, holidays, vacations, they're always there.
I apologize. I didn't realize. What did I say at dinner? I said the dispatch people had it under control. As a matter of fact, 7 or 8 fire departments were on the scene, but the 8th one was held back because that was the only one left in the county to do something in the county. And one last plug. We had mutual aid from the Abington Volunteer Fire Department. And because there was no aerial equipment in Russell County, and they provided their tower truck. And they came with the full response. They had no problem coming, except it took them 40 minutes to get here. In fire department time, that's that's almost not even talk about it. We're talking about 3 and 10-minute time. Just something in the back of your head. I know, it's an expensive piece of equipment, and we don't have that many tall buildings, but we needed it that night. And have I got myself in trouble yet? I wanted to thank the dispatchers. You have my respects, and you're the first ones that get that call. And when you call Jess and he calls me, I know it's because it's needed, and that's appreciated. Now, for the real reason we're here, we're responding to over 500 DAT calls, disaster action team responses, house fires, floods. He does other things too, but some of the stuff Red Cross doesn't respond to. And it's just a cheap certificate of appreciation, but as a volunteer, I know we don't do it for the rewards, but it sure is nice to be recognized. Presented to Just Powers for 500 disaster action team responses for the American Red Cross on behalf of the National Office, the Virginia Regional Office, and especially the Red Cross of Southwestern Virginia and the Bristol office, Sharon, myself, and our other volunteers. Thank you, Jess. It is my honor.
You know, as the emergency management coordinator for Russell County, it's my honor and privilege to coordinate these volunteer services that bring, if you look at 549 fires in Russell County, how much money do you think that would bring into the county? Over $250,000 for emergency assistance to our residents, about $15,000 a year. So it's critical for our families to receive this assistance because 95% of the families do not have homeowners insurance. And they don't have family members to go to. The 11 residents at the apartment had nowhere to go. With coordinating the American Red Cross disaster relief, they had somewhere to go. and we're placing the last family into an apartment this week. And so, without my my fire department members, our EMS agencies, our dispatchers, they do an amazing job, especially here in Russell County. And I would like to thank them because I'm standing on some big shoulders. And all I'm doing is just requesting services and coordinating services. So thank you.
Thank you, Jess. By the way, we'd like to get a picture. We need to get a picture of you guys. So if you'll line up right through here. Come on, everybody. We're going to get a picture of you. You look beautiful.
And everyone is welcome to join us any night at 3:30 in the morning. We'd be happy to have you watch what we do and perhaps join us.
So me take it.
Photo ops, line up. Come on, don't be bashful. Come on, come on.
They're free and for the minute.
Caleb, you're going to do it. You're going to take a picture for us? Yes, sir. Thank you.
I'm sorry. Sure.
So if you have questions,
Okay, I appreciate that.
save me your phone.
Oh, okay. Well, that is handy.
You just touch the yellow and save it as a contact.
Oh, wow.
And if you see a reason I can't head back to Richmond,
No.
they're doing it.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they'll. I think they're going to
I'll
pay
need to,
for it. So.
right, and I'll need to know if you do this again so I can come back.
Okay. Well, probably be in May. Okay. Sure.
You think I should stay until then?
No, I think because I don't think they're going to move on it tonight. If they did, they would direct me to redo the resolution. So. Oh.
Okay, moving along to our next is recognition of National Public Safety Telecommunications Week, which is our E91 dispatcher, 911 dispatcher. So guess what? Come on up. You're the next contestant for a photo op.
This is after you just half of us, the other half. Somebody's got to do it.
Thank you very much. Smile, guys.
Thanks for what you do.
Madam Chair, do you need a motion to make that, to declare that, or you already have it?
Let's take one. I'll take a motion to declare.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we declare April the 9th through the 15th National Public Safety Telecommunications Week, E91 dispatchers.
I'll second that.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you again.
Here's something I think was very fascinating. 72,130 cows for these folks. That's impressive.
All right, let's move along to the new business. I need approval of these minutes considered from our last meeting, the unapproved minutes of March 6th, March 20th, and March 28th.
So moved on all.
You'll have to do those separate.
We have to do it. I think we have
because-
some absentees.
The 28th.
Some of us was absent. So
I'll make a motion on the first one.
on March the 6th,
Second.
I have a motion, and we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. On March the 20th, 2023, I need a motion.
So moved.
I have a motion. I need a second.
Second.
I have a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. March 28th. I need an approval on that. A motion.
Which one was the one you were Virginia City? That's 20.
The last one, 28.
Last one.
28.
Okay.
All right. On March 28th, I need a motion for approval.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I have a motion. I need a second.
Second.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? 1,
Out.
2, 3. I got 3 abstentions. All right. Thank you. Motion carries. Next, I need an approval for expenditures presented in your packet for payment.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. We're skipping number 3. We're down to citizen comment period. And I do have on my list Ms. Linda Couch, Cleveland, Virginia. Come on up, Linda. Thank you for being here with us.
Thank you all for having me. I'm here. I had dropped a letter off from our Russell County Kids Fishing Day a couple of weeks ago, and I wanted to see if y'all were going to be able to donate again to us, and we would appreciate that very much if you could.
During comment period, we usually don't speak, but I will. You're on our list. So hang on. Thank you for coming. We appreciate you.
I appreciate it.
Anybody else have any comments tonight that didn't sign up? All right, I'll close public comments. Next, we're moving along to the constitutional officers' reports and requests. I see no one here for that. County Attorney, Ms. Katie.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The first item that I have is the ordinance for the revenue share for solar energy projects and energy storage systems. As I discussed a little bit earlier, this is basically just a tax ordinance. And because we do not have zoning, we cannot regulate through an ordinance any kind of placements or requirements of an industrial solar project. But the code does allow requires certain projects to get approval by the host county, and that's where it's called a solar facility siting agreement. And so that's not anything. I did provide that a template for the board, but that's nothing that you need to approve. That's only when a project comes that something in a similar form will come before you to be approved at that time through a public hearing. The only thing for approval tonight is just this ordinance, and it's just very straightforward. And like Madam Chair said, it basically takes it to assess a revenue share of $1,400 per megawatt, and that's how it's taxed instead of using our formula that we use for machine and tool tax. And that will be for both solar projects and energy storage systems that, and specific exemptions are anything that's 5 megawatts or less. And again, that doesn't mean a whole lot to me, but in the committee meeting it was described that's a fairly substantial project to get to that level. So if the board has any questions, I'll be happy to answer it, but the ordinance is available for the board to consider adopting.
I'll make a motion we approve that ordinance.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second to approve the revenue share for solar energy projects and energy storage systems ordinance. All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? And I will say that the technical advisory committee that we put together I thought was exceptional. I want to thank Mr. Lovelace and Mr. Breeding for serving on that, along with many energy partners and Ms. Patton. That would include Dominion, who played a huge part in this, and I'm thankful to them for being a part of that. Appalachian Voices, the Nature Conservancy, and I'm missing a whole big bunch of partners on that, but they did an outstanding job of bringing together these ideas to help us put this together. So I'm very pleased with that. Thank you very much. Okay, Katie, you got something else?
The last thing I have for the board is, and I'm sorry I got it to you so late. I realized it was going to be April, and this is a matter that's really close to me. As you all know, I serve as legal counsel for the Department of Social Services here, and so I work with those individuals who are doing their best to prevent child abuse, and they do a fantastic job, and they work tirelessly. But I do believe, and this is something the resolution talks about, that it takes a village. It takes us all looking out for each other. And so this is just a resolution, and I'll read it out loud, for Child Abuse Prevention Month, that I'm putting before the board for consideration. And it states, whereas nationally in 2020, nearly 3.1 million children were involved with child protective services. And whereas in 2022, nearly 53,000 children in the Commonwealth of Virginia and 516 children in Russell County were reported as possible victims of abuse and neglect. And whereas the Russell County Department of Social Services and other county agencies, Russell County Public Schools, and community partners work together to offer programs and services to strengthen resilience and protect children from abuse and neglect. And whereas child abuse prevention is a community responsibility, and finding solutions depends on people becoming involved, asking questions, making critical decisions, and offering help. And whereas all Russell County residents, community agencies, churches, and businesses are encouraged to renew their commitment to preventing child abuse, supporting families, and promoting safety, family resilience, and child well-being. Now therefore be it resolved that the Russell County Board of Supervisors, on behalf of all residents of Russell County, does hereby proclaim the month of April 2023 as Child Abuse Prevention Month in Russell County, and urges all residents to recognize this month by working together to prevent child abuse and neglect, protect children, and strengthen families.
I need a motion to
make
accept the
that
resolution.
I'll make that
I'll
motion. And to tell everyone to please wear blue. That's the recognition color for child abuse.
I'll accept that motion from Ms. Dye, and that second from. Okay, thank you, Mr. Christian. Any further discussion? And we surely know, because this past year has been rough on a lot of us in Russell County, as we've realized a lot of things going on. So thank you, Ms. Patton, for bringing that to us. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
That's all I have.
Okay, well, we're going to see what we can do with our county administrators' reports and requests. First of all, we have a request for the tax rate public hearing to be scheduled on 4/11/2023. So I need a motion.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Madam Chair, I might point out that there's a Russell County Household Hazardous Waste Cleanup Day, and I think that's Wednesday, isn't it? 12th? Is that when it is? It's been advertised in the papers, so it's a good opportunity to get rid of a lot of stuff that you can't take to the trash now.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
it's out down on our parking lot out here.
I totally marked that off, as I wasn't going over that, but I appreciate you. What time let's talk about the public hearing. Miss Vicki is asking me that. It's got to go in the record, and we have to make that announcement.
I thought I said 6 p.m., but I apparently didn't.
6 o'clock. Public hearing, 4/11/2023. All right, moving along. We're back to the number 4, which is and by the way, on the public hearing for the county tax rate, Mr. Lester wanted us to make sure, and he told us this before he left, that we've given our employees included in this is a 7% raise for our employees, and the employee pay raise over with 2 bonuses over the past, how long? 8 years, 30% raise with 2 bonuses. So we're really proud of that fact for us. Thank you very much. And Mr. Eaton says, and no taxes. All right, number 4, the EMS resolution for the Dane Rescue Squad operational variance request. We know that that is now an exemption, and we are working on that. So we don't, do we just need an emotion to move that forward to hear it next month? Table it till next month. Thank you, Mr. Breeding. Moving on to number 5 is the County Kids Fishing Day. And we've had a public comment concerning the Cleveland and it's the Russell County, which is Cleveland, and the Honaker Kids Fishing Day. And I'll entertain a motion to give them a donation.
I'd like to make a motion that we give the Russell County Kids Fishing Day $500 and the Honaker Kids Fishing Day $500.
I'll second it.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much, ladies. And next thing, we have the leachate containment concrete foundation contract. This is going to go at our county landfill. This is to keep up with our permits, I'm assuming, for Department of Environmental Quality, also fondly known as DEQ. So I'll entertain a motion to accept the payment or the $15,398.
So moved, Madam Chair.
I have a motion. I've got a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. This time I'm going to go through quickly the board discussion and reminders. I'll start with Mr. Lovelace.
Have none, thank you.
Mr. Ray.
I have none, Madam Chair.
Mr. Eaton. Mr. Breeding. Ms. Dye. Mr. Christian.
I'll pass.
Very good. And I will remind, I'm going to take prerogative here. I will remind everyone that this is our Blessed Holy Week, and we're coming up on the Easter holiday. And I want to wish everyone a wonderful holiday and remember what the reason for the season is. But also, another thing that we did in this past year was we made a resolution for 49 Winchester to be the date 4/9 in Russell County. Remember that, guys? We did this back in August, so it just so happens it's falling on Easter Sunday, but that is our 49 Winchester Day, and we want to celebrate them too, as well as our risen Savior. So anyway, at this time, with all hearts clear, I will declare this meeting adjourned.
Are you going to have a continued meeting?
Well, I don't know. I guess we are. Thank you very much, Miss Attorney. I'm not adjourning. I'm adjourning to reconvene on April 11th. Public hearing
At 6.
at 6. Thank you very much.